We are rolling.
America, welcome. Power to Thrive. Another good episode heading your way. I'm Dale Campbell, and with best-selling author my buddy Cliff Blodgett. America, go and subscribe to the channel so we can keep going, because that's what it's about. Today's topic is student loans.
During COVID, they parked the student loans because people were out of work and there was too much turmoil during COVID. In May 5th, 2025, they're going to resume collecting on student loans. Right now, there's approximately 5.3 million federal student loan borrowers that are in default, which means they haven't paid anything in over 270 days. And a lot of them were in default before COVID. Additionally, there's 4 million more borrowers that are in late stage delinquency, which means they're between 91 and 180 days past due. If you add the two together, the 5.3 million that are in flat out default and the 4 million that are in late stage delinquency, you get a total of 25% of all student loans that are in default or at risk of default. That's a huge number, and it's going to go up. Student loans are a racket. The Fed makes money available to the big corporations at interest rates near zero. They're charging you like 8.5%.
Okay.
All right, so this interest rate for student loans goes between about 7% all the way up to 9%. And some student loans can have as high as 17.99%. So this is straight up usury. And so what happens with these interest rates is that if a student had $50,000 and it goes into default, after about 15, 20 years, a $50,000 student loan could be several $100,000 in debt. And it just keeps coming up and they'll never discharge it. So when a corporation takes out money, if they can't pay it back, they file bankruptcy. If you try to take away their ability to declare bankruptcy, they scream bloody murder. But average people with student loans cannot be discharged in bankruptcy. So basically your student debt is not dischargeable, but corporate debt and the banksters, they get away with getting bailed out. Every time there's a recession, the federal government spends trillions of dollars bailing Wall Street out. But the average person has student debt, and then you come into a COVID or a recession or any kind of a problem, and they throw you under the bus. You're screwed.
So with the student loans, majority of the people that have them, middle class and lower class, not the rich.
Absolutely. They're like, oh, we're going to help you. And then they say that there's going to be some program, and then they'll throw out some token program where if you have $70,000 student loan, they'll take back $3,000 and act like they did people a big favor. No, you can't have it, you silly rabbit. You don't get any kind of relief. And they do this over and over again. Yet, over and over again, the Wall Street banksters and all the corporations, they get to either discharge their debt through bankruptcy or the government, Big Daddy, bails them out. So it's socialism for the ultra rich, and then it's hardcore capitalism for all the normal people. Yeah, you got to suffer, but the ultra rich, we can't let them suffer at all. They can't be out anything. We're going to make them whole again. Same thing FEMA does. Every time there's a hurricane, the average person doesn't get squat from FEMA, and the entire budget is spent making sure that businesses and ultra rich, they're made whole. Yet people in the lower income and middle income class, their houses sit there years later with tarps on the roof and mold and never did get their check. The government should be doing the student loans directly, and they should have near zero interest rates. Whatever the Fed rate is, that's what should go to student loans. But they allow corporations, banks to get involved. And so the bank gets the money from the government at near zero, and then they loan it out for the student loan programs at exorbitant interest rates. And then when you default, the federal government guarantees that the banks don't suffer any loss. Their money's guaranteed. So they get high interest rates and their loans are guaranteed. They're going to lose nothing. And the federal government, which means you and me, are the ones that are going to pay for it. So this is an absolutely stinking thing. So I think what needs to happen eventually is that there just needs to be across the board loan protests where people just stop paying the stupid student loans. To say we're not going for it. Screw you and your high interest rates. And if everybody stopped paying for it, they'd have to write the program off. And Biden, as a campaign promise, said that he was going to pay off a lot of them. But that was just an empty campaign promise, because the legal framework that they were going to use to do that, they knew full well that legal framework wasn't going to fly. But it made a good campaign promise. It got shot down in the courts because they already knew it wasn't going to fly. But they're gaslighting everybody, thinking that he's really serious about doing this. And the thing you have to realize about Biden is that a lot of the legislation that made student loans non-dischargeable in bankruptcy and allowed the banks to charge the exorbitant interest rates, those were written by Biden. So it's not like he didn't know what he was doing. This is the man that wrote a lot of the legislation that caused this whole problem in the first place. And so he's not innocent to this. He was right there at the forefront screwing everybody. Then he gaslights everybody during the campaign because he didn't want it being brought up that he was the cause of the thing in the first place, or a big part of it.
So basically, when you get a student loan, you know you have to get a job because you got to pay it back.
Making people into debt slaves for 20, 30 years so that they can complete an education is wrong in the first place. And doing it specifically so that Wall Street can benefit, that's twice as evil. So the whole system's screwed up. People shouldn't be getting student loans so that Wall Street can make huge amounts of money, just like people shouldn't be going to jail so that prison companies can populate their prisons and they can make huge sums of money off of corporate-owned prison complexes. That shouldn't be happening. You got millions of people in jail because of bogus marijuana charges. And the reason why they're doing it is so that prison corporations can make huge amounts of money. It's a profit thing. And the same thing is true for the student loans. It's a racket. Same thing is true for our healthcare. Our healthcare has been hijacked by corporations that assert themselves as a middleman. There's no reason in hell we should be having $5 trillion worth of healthcare costs in a country the size of the United States. No other country is even close. And it's because Wall Street corporations like United Healthcare have inserted themselves in the middle of the healthcare industry. There's no business for corporations to be anywhere around healthcare. This should be a single payer system like it is in every other country on the planet that is done by the government. There's some things that the government does better. Healthcare is one of them. Education loans are another one. Almost every other first world country on the planet has free education, free higher education. The whole idea that you should have for-profit education, that's vile bullshit. That shouldn't be happening. So this country's messed up. Student debt is crippling the economy is what it's doing, because you got a whole segment of the population that is dysfunctional because they're mired in student debt. And these people, they're not doing good. They're doing horribly.
How much of that, far as student stress, family stress, that's a major impact.
It's huge. It's absolutely stressing a huge portion of the population out, economically and every other way, all for the benefit of corporations. This student loan racket is debt slavery and exploitation. Every other kind of debt, you can file bankruptcy. This debt, no matter what, they're making you into a permanent debt slave. I believe that's even unconstitutional, but they probably figured out loopholes. But debt slavery is supposed to be unconstitutional. The U.S. population is going to continue to get screwed until they stand up and refuse to take it anymore.
But when you say that, what option do they have?
So if, in this case of student loans, if every single person with a student loan told them to get screwed, it'd be over. They'd have to shut that program down, and that'd be the end of that. They'd have to finance education the way they should be doing. Like they do in every other first world country, private industry has no business being in education. None. Whose country is this? Is this a country that's owned by corporations and the ultra rich? Or should this be a country that's owned by the people? That really is the bottom line, because I think they got the cart in front of the horse at this point. The ultra rich and the corporations, they're running the whole show. What people can do is try to wake the hell up and realize what's happening, and then just say no more and take steps to not elect one corporate candidate over another, but look outside this whole two corporate parties, Democratic corporate party and the Republican corporate party. Stop participating in a fake democracy, basically. That's what you can do, because this is a fake democracy.
America, we had a great episode this evening. We appreciate you joining us. Hit the subscribe button, go to the comments, pick up the book, Plant-Based. Very important. We got some big stuff coming up you don't want to miss. Stay tuned to us. And listen, say Power to Thrive 3 times, and you probably think you can jump over the moon. Have a good night, America.